You are tuned to Anywhere the Needle Drops. Hey world, this is Justin. I am your host, and welcome to the show. Today we get to hang out with Kylee Phillips. Kylee Phillips, a musician from right here in Michigan, and the recent winner of the Acorn Singer-Songwriter Competition. Yeah, that's the annual competition over at the Acorn in Three Oaks, a really great way to discover music. Even, the people that compete and don't win the contest, always just a solid lineup there, a great way to find some new stuff and some really talented folks there. And Kylee won, so congratulations to her on that. Really awesome. This is actually not my first interaction with her. We met sometime last year when I was running around following Abby Thomas on tour, doing some documentary stuff, and Abby was a part of this sort of songwriter, kind of like a listening evening, and one of the other musicians up there was Kylee. And, when I'm out doing these things, I'm always taking note of new great talent, new to me great talent, and Kylee was one of them. I'm like, oh yeah, I should definitely follow up with this person and get them on the show. In fact, I think we were already working on getting her on the show even before she won the contest, so this just happened to work out pretty well timing-wise. So good stuff. Winner of that event. Definitely always, again, Acorn doing great stuff. Check out that event and check out what Kylee has to offer musically. You're going to get a chance to do that right now. We're going to hear a song called The Good Parts, and then after that, my discussion with Kylee Phillips. Enjoy. Here's to life.
Remember that night we shared a bottle of wine and ate too much 'cause we're living on borrowed time. You picked out girls in the bar for me just out of curiosity, and with every drink you downed, your voice got louder. Remember that night we danced in the living room, such a cliche but kind of beautiful too. I smelled the whiskey on your breath, and it scared me half to death that every time could be the last time. Could you promise me one thing? Hold them in your heart, the good parts, keep the good parts. I'm sure you'd like to pick and choose, just don't lose the good parts, keep the good parts, keep the good parts. Remember that time we drove down the Michigan coast, listening to fountains and Wayne on the radio. They sang about snowy little towns, and we chased the sun down until she finally drowned herself under the water. Remember that Christmas when the power went out, and we got stranded in some Canadian town, and everything felt so strange.
Okay, there we go. Everything sound good on your end?
Yeah, it's great over here.
Great. Awesome. Okay. Kylee Phillips, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, you and I met originally. What was it? I'm drawing a blank on the name of the venue, but we were up
Oh, at
at.
20 Front Street.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, great, great venue. I was there with Abby Thomas, shooting the documentary, and caught
hmm
your show as well. So that was fun.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah, and then so recently you've had some success at the Acorn Theater here in my neck of the woods.
I
So
did indeed. I was very pleasantly surprised by that. I go into any competition expecting to make some friends and not win. So that was a pleasant surprise.
yeah, yeah. So okay, so tell me about it. What happened at the Acorn recently?
It was a blast. This was what, back in July was the singer-songwriter competition, and there were six of us, and we I was competing against my fiance Chris DuPont, who was also in the competition, and he and I and another singer-songwriter, Christopher Gold, made it to the top three. Um, and we very intentionally didn't tell anyone that we were engaged throughout the competition because that it would be cheap. And but then but yeah, we all ended up in the top three, and then I took first place, and they ask you to play one more song at the end of the show after you won. And so at that point I said to everybody, so actually, Chris DuPont and I are a couple, and it was like crickets. I think they thought I was joking. And then it was like, no, I'm actually serious. And so he came back out and we did our final song together, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, it was great. People always joke that they're like, what's it like, collaborating with your partner? And I was like, oh, we just, compete directly against one another. It's really good.
Yeah, I mean, literally in that same contest. That's something. So
Yeah.
yeah.
This is the second time we've gone against one another in a songwriter
Oh,
competition.
really? Nice. Who won the last time?
Let's see. The last time I came in third, and I can't remember what, Chris was a little further down the line. And then this time he was in third place and I was in first place. We're getting closer to the top of the heap.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, had either of you previously submitted to that Acorn? I know it's an annual event that they do over there.
Yeah, Chris did it several years ago. I want to say he did it in like 2016 or something, but I had never, honestly, until like this past year, I had never done any of the singer-songwriter competition stuff. But I felt like it was a good way to start stretching myself a little bit. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, it is funny because that competition, that local Acorn competition, is such a huge one, and it's one where, we've seen so many people come through here who obviously the winners have gone on to do awesome things.
yeah,
So that's what's in store for you there. But
I hope
but
so.
also even people that just make it to the finals, have ended up coming back there and opening for this person or that person or playing
Yeah.
this show or going on their own trajectory. So just being in that is
Mhm.
something pretty important.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and just that room itself, we love that space. And so to sort of like get on their radar at all was really exciting because it's like it's such a cool room and it's run by people who really do a great job and really like care about what they're doing. And so we were excited just to kind of be a part of that ecosystem. And so the fact that we did okay was like a bonus.
Yeah, yeah, it's very much a listener's room. It's a place you go if you're in the audience, you're buying your tickets to go and see the band. You're not just hanging out with some background music. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Now, had you been there before, either playing or just as in the audience or?
I hadn't been it's like a couple hours away from where I live, but I had heard so many good things about it that when the competition popped up, we were like, you know what, this would make a lot of sense to just get out there and get some experience with that space because we had heard so many good things about it, and it exceeded even my high expectations. It was a really cool spot, and even just the fact that there was, an entire audience willing to gamble on a bunch of songwriters they've never heard is very admirable. I don't think
Yeah.
every community is up for that. So it was really cool.
Yeah, yeah, it is very awesome the support that we get over there. So
Mhm.
awesome stuff. And so you said that this was recently was your first go for any of these types of competitions. So
Mhm.
what motivated you this year to be like, I'm going to start doing some singer-songwriter competitions?
I think for the past, like, I don't know, 5 years or something, I've been trying to just say yes to the scary stuff or the stuff that makes me nervous or makes me uncomfortable. And um, I feel like with the competitions, it's for one thing, I'm trying to make a record, and so I'm trying to like earn money for that record. And I was like, well, you know what? Might as well give these a go and like see what happens. But it's also such a good way to get in community with other songwriters because obviously, hopefully you're playing shows with folks and you're meeting new folks like that, but it's such a like concentrated thing where we did the other competition I did was down in Texas and it was like 16 other songwriters and it almost felt more like a retreat. It was like a couple days of like us all staying in the same spot and competing, but then doing one-on-ones with the judges and like things like that. And it felt almost more like a songwriter retreat. And I feel like it's been a good way to sort of force me to find community with other songwriters. And I feel like whether it's a competition or a conference, you always find like a couple people that you kind of zero in on and you're like, oh, you're my people. Like, and so I've walked away from each one with like a handful of new folks that it's like, okay, well, now when I'm in your part of the country, we can connect on that and we can like keep in touch and we can see what the other one is doing. And it's been a really good way to sort of like force myself into more community because that doesn't come super naturally to me.
Well, and yeah, and it's not something that is necessarily even natural to the craft. I
Yeah.
think being an independent artist, musician, those can be somewhat isolating. There is this sense of scarcity or competition that I don't even know if it's accurate, but it definitely is there regardless. And so it's kind of like that thing where, when you realize that everyone's more worried about their own feelings than judging you, it's the same thing in the creative world where it's like everyone just kind of wants to actually connect and no one's really trying to fight each other, but someone
Yes.
has to say it first.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Well, and it's so funny to me because I'll look at folks I know who are, in my mind, a little further down the road than I am and seem so confident and so like unbothered. And I'll say, like, do you feel intimidated in this space? And they're like, oh, absolutely. Like we're all just trying to fake it and pretend like we're super confident. But no matter where you are in the uh like on the trajectory, we're all like secretly harboring this like, oh, I hope people think I'm good. I hope I don't look like an idiot and all of that stuff. And so even even just having it's another reason that community comes in handy is being able to have those conversations and go, oh, it's not just me. Everyone is kind of feeling this way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's such a unique world too because unless you're in it, unless you are, a fellow, musician, independent musician, like the challenges you face in your day to day are not the same as the challenges that I face, or
Uh,
that, someone with a quote unquote regular job might face. And so you kind of have to have those people that know what you're going through.
yeah, for sure. And I think especially like being in a relationship with a person who is on the same, kind of trying to do the same thing as I do. Chris's music is a little different than mine, but we both are trying to do this singer-songwriter thing. And, uh, people will ask us, is that challenging, like ego wise? And I suppose it is, but it's also really comforting to your point to have somebody who's like, no, I know exactly I know exactly how you're feeling, like literally. And I think uh it's helpful to have somebody who can like talk you off the ledge because they have been there themselves, as
Yeah.
opposed to being like, oh, that sounds hard. Bummer. You know what I
Yeah. Yeah.
mean?
Did you guys meet in the music world or was that just a coincidence? How'd that work out?
Yeah, we actually met. what year was it? I think it was 2013 that we met because we were both on a radio show in Ann Arbor. We were both doing like live performances. Uh, and at the time we were both like in relationships with other people and everything, but we just sort of stayed in touch over the years and we would do, we would share bills from time to time and we would like whatever. And I kept telling him that I would love to just like sing backup for him or something. And he says now that he felt like he didn't earn it yet, that I was too good. But I'm like, I think you just didn't want to hire me. I think that's what it was. But then, but then yeah, eventually we were both like single and we had known each other for so long and then one thing led to another. And but it's kind of nice to have known someone that long before you got together and to be like, oh, I know the kind of person you are, and
Sure,
I
yeah. Know what you're
you're
getting
not a
into,
total
yeah.
yeah, you're not a total mystery to me, and that makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, for sure. So is Ann Arbor the home base then? Is that where you guys kind of work out of?
Yeah, we live in Milan, which is like a little bit, I think, south of Ann Arbor. But when we go elsewhere and we say Milan, nobody knows that. So we say
Yeah.
Ann Arbor. That's close enough.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah. So have you been up there your whole life then, or how'd you end up in Ann Arbor?
I've been in like Southeast Michigan my whole life, so I've just been kind of like circling the same little the same little circle of cities. I grew up in like Plymouth Canton, and then I lived in Livonia for a while, and then we were in Ypsilanti for a couple years before we bought a house in Milan. So I am a dedicated to Michigan. I'm a lifelong Michigander.
That's great. It is a great state, and one of the things we often talk about on the show is how, I mean, people run off to Nashville, to Austin, to whatever the new music city is,
Mhm.
but the fact that you really can do it here in Michigan or here in the Midwest, or name your spot that isn't necessarily Music City, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah. Yeah, I love it out here, and I feel like the community is really cool. It's like it's a little bit more tight knit because it isn't like every barista you meet is also an aspiring musician. It's like we have our own little club, but I do feel like something special has been happening lately because um, everywhere we go, especially when we're at these conferences and stuff, it'll be like an international conference. And when we say we're from Michigan, everybody's like, man, there's so many folks from Michigan here. And so I feel like we're putting ourselves on the map music wise, but it's definitely not the kind of frenetic energy I feel in the Nashvilles or the Austins of the world, you know?
Sure. Yeah. Well, and it's so, it's kind of spread out as well. You've got kind of like
Mhm.
the scene up there by Ann Arbor. There's sort of
Mhm.
the Grand Rapids Kalamazoo thing. There's
Yeah.
that weird little pocket in Marquette and whatever they're
Yeah.
doing up there,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like, and then what we've got down here, which bleeds into Indiana, we call Michiana, but
Yeah.
it's all of these sort of more spread out type of areas where there's just these cool little things happening. I mean, I was just at
Mhm.
this event this past weekend called Yart, which is this amazing art and music festival out in the woods, and you
Oh,
park at this
cool.
church and you wander out into the forest, and then
Uh-huh.
there's an entire world out there for the weekend.
Yeah.
And it's like these things are happening right here. You don't have to run off somewhere else to find that magic, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, this summer was my first Bliss Fest experience. I'm ashamed to say that I hadn't been before, but it was like immediately it was like, oh, I get it. Like I get why people are so obsessed with this event. And because it's just like gorgeous and so much of it is happening in the woods and in these like beautiful little spots. It's like you're not in the middle of an empty field with a giant stage, you know?
Yeah.
It's this is beautiful and like comfortable, and everybody here is so excited to be here. Like it was really special.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so let's go back a little bit since we haven't had you on the show before. When did you find your way to playing music as a passion?
Mhm. My dad's a musician, and so the cliche of like I came out of the womb singing, but I think singing was my on-ramp to everything because it was like you could just do it. You didn't, there was no barrier of entry.
Yeah.
It was like I could hear voices I liked and I could try to imitate it. And so even when I was like 3 and 4 years old, I was like performing, for my family and with varying degrees of success. Um, but my dad started recording me when I was really young. So we have all these old recordings of me when I was like 6 or 7 years old. And when I was 6, my parents put me in piano lessons because my dad plays a million instruments, but he is self-taught and he wanted me to learn how to read music because he isn't great at reading music. So they put me in piano lessons at 6.
Trying to build
And
a
then
family band there, it sounds like.
exactly. Seriously, it worked pretty well. One of my brothers is also a musician, so his grand scheme worked. But yeah, I was hooked from then on. But the singing is and was the part that I care about the most, and so everything else, like learning an instrument, was more in service to me being able to to sing than
Yeah.
the instrument itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then what about, sort of naturally from singing then comes, songwriting because you want to, ha have your own things to say. So how did you approach your first, foray into songwriting?
Yeah. It's funny because I look back now and in like the 90s when I was a kid, my dad was doing some writing for like country artists and things like that. And I think the fact that that was, I don't know if I would have known that was an option otherwise, but it was just kind of normal in my house that my dad was a songwriter and we listened to a ton of music. And I want to say I was, 8 or 10 the first time. I didn't know how to write chords, but I wrote some really terrible lyrics and like a melody. And I remember saying to my dad, like, I wrote this song, but how to, I don't know how to create the music to go underneath it. But I remember being really little and being like, I have words and a melody in my head. Um, but I think I was 12 or 13 the first time I wrote a song that I thought was actually decent. And then I was in a little band at the time, and so I got to see it come to life with, a bunch of terrible 13-year-old musicians. Nevertheless, it was very exciting. But yeah, I feel like just the fact that songwriting was a thing that happened around me a lot, uh, was the reason I was even aware that that was an option, that I didn't just have to sing other people's songs, but I could write my own.
Yeah, for sure. Did
Mhm.
you, like, have you, over the course of your exploration of music, have you moved through different genres, as far as your style?
Mhm. I feel like it's always leaned pop, and it still does. But I've actually been noticing lately, I grew up listening to, a lot of like 70s folk and things like that, and also, the teenage pop of the 90s like that as well, but a lot of 90s country music. I've been realizing lately how much of an influence I think that had on the way I sing and the way I write, because there's these like the female voices of that time, like the Trisha Yearwoods and the Martina McBrides and stuff. Um, and then the kind of structure of those songs, I do think that really bled into what I do. But I never wanted to be a country singer. I think it definitely has some shared DNA with what I do. Um, but but as time has gone on, I think I've gotten less embarrassed at the idea of wanting to make pop music. I think for a while it felt like, oh, that's not highbrow enough. You need to be more folky or you need to be whatever. And as time has gone on, I've become more confident in the idea of making good pop music. Like I want it to be smart and I want it to say something. Um, but the kind of satisfaction and like catharsis of pop music, I really love. And um, so yeah, now I feel a little bit more firmly planted in that and not quite as ashamed of it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and as much as any genre has any actual rules, which, that's a whole other discussion. But,
Yeah, sure.
I mean, really when it comes down to it, yes, there's sort of the straight commercialized arm of the pop world where it
Yeah,
is a product, but the majority of pop really is like the reason it exists is because this is stuff that everybody likes. Like these
yeah,
are, this is music that everyone can really connect to. So
yeah,
that's it. That's
yeah,
what that it
yeah,
comes down to. So
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
I also feel like we're in a moment of a little bit of a resurgence, both in the world of pop, but also kind of there's an honoring going on of that '90s country, whether through new music or just people going back and respecting the actual music made back then.
Yeah,
So
for sure. It's actually Chris just recently did a gig where he was playing guitar for like a young country singer, and she was doing a lot of covers. And so he was learning all this stuff, and he was like, "Oh, I see why you like this stuff so much," because it was Randy Travis and Trisha Yearwood and all this stuff that he was like, "Oh, I see why this stuff is so appealing." And I do think country is one of those things that I hear so many people who say, "Oh, I love every genre except country music." And I'm like, but have you heard a good country song? Like,
yeah.
I'm not sure you've heard the right thing yet. And so yeah, I've been excited to see the nostalgia coming back from that time period.
Yeah, yeah. It also feels like this moment where it's kind of love what you love with no shame, which I think is
Yes,
also beautiful because
for sure.
there's some of that stuff that is just sort of, I don't know, silly or maybe not truly deep or whatever, but
Yeah.
also it's fun. And
Oh
who
yeah.
cares, like it's fun. So,
Yeah. No,
and
I've
then oh, go
I've
ahead.
always been like, when people will say like, "What's your guilty pleasure?" And I'm like, I can tell you what I should be embarrassed about, but I'm not like
Yeah.
I love Savage Garden, and I'm not embarrassed that I love Savage Garden, even if some people think I should be embarrassed.
Yes, I'm a strong believer. There's no such thing as a guilty pleasure.
Exactly.
So love what you love. So
Yes. Yep.
yeah, yeah. And as you're showing with your music, you are creating music that has that pop appeal, but does have that deeper, songwriting and meaning. So
Mhm.
I mean, it's you can touch on both things. So
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's definitely the goal is like for it to be, fun at baseline, just like fun to listen to. But then if you want to dive in deeper, you can go like, oh, something is being said here.
yeah,
That's the goal.
yeah, for sure. Now, did you ever have a moment where you rebelled against any of that, either rebelling against, culture or family or, peers or yourself, and I don't know, like glommed onto something like punk rock or something grittier or dirtier? Is there any love for that stuff?
I definitely, as a listener, yes. I
Okay.
think in terms of what I create myself, I was always just so, like I said, so like vocal centric that I just wanted to facilitate being able to sing the way I want to sing. But in terms of listenership, for sure, I still like, Chris always jokes that it's like you can tell Kylie's having a bad day if like Rage Against the Machine is playing. I'm like, I just need to get this out of my system. I need to. So, yeah, and it is funny now. Like I've got two stepsons, and so we're trying to like get them to listen to music because I feel like they don't really want to listen to it. But there's certain stuff where if you put on something that's like loud and aggressive enough, you can get them on board. So I have a newfound appreciation for that all over again.
That's awesome. So, okay, so you mentioned you're working on a record. Are we talking like a full album, an EP? What are we looking at?
Yeah, it's gonna be my first full length. I put out a couple EPs over the last few years. But and in this day and age, a lot of people are like full length albums don't make sense anymore and all of that stuff. But I still love that format as a listener. And I also just feel like before before I die, I want to put out a full length album. So I'm working on that. And the goal is like next fall, like fall of 26 for that to come out.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, and I'm with you. I'm a huge fan of the album as a format, and
Mhm.
obviously that comes from just that's what I was raised on. But
Yeah.
also, I think these things do come in cycles, and the album will cycle back in at some point. I don't think
Yeah.
it's truly gone to begin with anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I think there's room for all of it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and it's very anecdotal, but I even one time just did like an Instagram poll being like, what do you guys want to hear? Like singles, EPs, albums, and the majority of folks said albums. And like I said, very anecdotal. It's people who already are willing to listen to me. So maybe they're not the majority, but it was interesting to me and kind of encouraging to hear that folks are willing to engage with that kind of medium and to give you their attention for that much time. I was at least
Yeah.
flattered by that.
Well, and that just goes to, I mean, we can say 100 terrible things about the internet and the music world, in relation to it. But one of the great things about it is you can find your audience.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to, you can have a career by finding your audience. You don't have to have the entire audience. In fact, I don't think anyone has the entire audience anymore, with maybe the exception of, I don't know, Taylor Swift or somebody.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
other than that, like it's about you plugging into your space and figuring
Mhm.
that out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that can definitely be daunting, but it also is, like you're saying, it is freeing to a certain extent because you don't have to necessarily appeal to the lowest common denominator or uh make it appealing to every person out there, but you can sort of say like, I think the people who get this will find it. And that is exciting to be able to make the thing you want to make and sort of trust that the right people will find it.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah. So as you move toward this album, do you already have the songs figured out, or are you in the process of writing?
hmm I think I have my track list set. There's always that openness to if something brilliant comes out in the next few months as we're doing all that prep work, there's certainly space for that. But I think I've sort of narrowed it down to the songs that feel like they fit in this collection. And I'm a relatively slow songwriter. I always am blown away by the songwriters who go into the studio and they're like, I went in with 40 songs and I had to narrow it down. I'm like, no, I go in with like 15 and I narrow it to 10. Like that's I'm a much more tentative songwriter. So I think I'm set with what songs are going to be on it, but we'll see if there's any buzzer beaters that make it on there.
Sure. I mean, I've been in a studio with artists, and sometimes magic does just happen
Yeah.
in the moment, and when that
Yeah.
happens, you just got to go for it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Will there be singles like teasing this over the course of the next year then?
Yeah, for sure. The hope is to start releasing a few singles starting next spring, and then have the full thing out in the fall.
Nice.
hmm
Nice. So coming out of this singer-songwriter competition, I mean, you won the competition, which is
Uh-huh.
huge.
hmm
So does that shift your path any direction at all, versus what you thought maybe the rest of this year was going to look like?
Yeah, I mean, we were fortunate that like the night of the show, they asked us if we wanted to come back in September to do a show, like a return show.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be back at the end of the month, and um, Chris and I will be playing as a duo, and then Christopher, who came in second place, Christopher Gold, is going to open the show. So all three of us are coming back. But so especially with that sort of anchor on the calendar, we were like, okay, well, let's build a handful of shows around that. And so we're going to be doing a little Michigan September run of shows. And so yeah, it's sort of I don't know, it was definitely motivating and like encouraging in terms of I'm just trying to build I'm trying to build a live audience rather than just an internet audience. and finding ways of getting in front of new people can be tricky. And so I think doing the competition was really encouraging on that front. It was like getting in front of a lot of new people and getting this little like stamp of approval, you know?
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, I think in terms of like moving forward, it was definitely motivating to keep on that track of just like trying to get in a room with other human beings and play music rather than prioritizing uh just like streaming numbers and things like that. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's a place where you can really build a more of a personal relationship with the audience as opposed to, kind of just being another thing on the screen,
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And
yeah.
I never want to sound like an old person. I know that like the internet is a great tool and socials and all of that stuff are can be cool and can be a great way to connect to folks. But as time goes on, I feel like I care more and more about being able to be in a room with people and actually play music and get that like real time connection with people. And so I've been trying to find ways of prioritizing that when I can. And like I said, I feel like doing the competition was a made me feel like we're on the right track by trying to prioritize that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Any more competitions in the future?
Potentially, there's some that I'm going to be applying for. So we'll see if if anything happens there. But I'm definitely going to keep putting myself out there because at this point it sort of feels like why not? It's been a really interesting experience giving it a go. And I think as long as you can sort of not let it be too much of a blow to your ego if it doesn't go the way you want it to, as long as you can sort of see it uh as an experience and like good practice and meeting new people and all of that stuff, I feel like it's great. But when other songwriters ask me about the competitions, the thing I always say is just like, if it's gonna make you question your ability, don't do it because it's not worth it, you know?
Sure.
But if you can see it as an experiment and as a way to meet people, then like, yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Have you had those moments where maybe in the past you were in some kind of I mean, so I'm a filmmaker and I can, think of the moments where maybe I put a film into a film festival or a contest
Yeah.
or something like that. And, the times where not achieving that felt hard versus now when I don't achieve it, it's like, okay, cool, but like that takes it's a learning
Yeah,
process, right?
for sure. Yeah, I think I haven't done a ton of the competition where you're being like genuinely judged and ranked. I haven't done too much of that until recently, but I think there have definitely been even just shows that don't sell well and you start to go like, oh, is this just because I'm terrible and no one cares? Like you can have this like crisis of this identity crisis around something like that. And it has taken a lot of practice to um, have confidence in the quality of what I'm doing, no matter what. And a phrase I try to use a lot is like it's data. Like if you try something and it doesn't go great or it doesn't turn out the way you wanted to, like that's data, that's information. And you don't have to go, this is an indictment of my abilities, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And but like you said, that's taken years and years of practice. And I still will have moments where I'm like, that's it, I quit. No, I can't handle this anymore. And that's again goes back to Chris being able to go, okay, I understand why you feel that way, but maybe let's calm down a little bit.
Yeah, well, this is going to be shocking for the audience to hear, but it turns out we creatives, we can be a little sensitive about these things. So,
Just a little dramatic sometimes. Just slowly.
yeah, it definitely takes. I talk a lot on here about stand-up comedy because that's one of those
Oh,
arts where you, by virtue of the art, you have to fail.
Yes.
And that's really any art, but it's the most clear in stand-up comedy. Like, oh no, you have to just go on stage and fail
Yes.
in order to
Oh,
do this. So I think if we walk into these things knowing that, it helps a little bit, you know?
yeah. Yeah. Well, and yeah, I'll try. Don't get me talking about stand up because I will do it all day. It's one of my favorite things. But I have heard a lot of stand ups say because it's literally just them speaking into a microphone, it feels so personal if people
Yeah.
don't like you because it's not even, you can't even hide behind music. It's just, this is me and my thoughts. And if people are like, we hate it, it's like, okay, then you must hate me then. That must be it. And that kind of vulnerability, I can't imagine. It's scary enough doing music. I can't imagine doing stand up.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're hardly that more protected. I mean, what you've got a guitar in front of you, but otherwise it is just you. So
That's true.
yeah,
It feels safer, but maybe it's not.
yeah. I mean, I was at a film festival the other day with a friend of mine who had a movie in the festival, and you know, like he was there in the room with this film on the screen, but like
Yeah.
essentially no one was looking at him. They were looking at his
Yeah.
work up there, and he was back here in the dark with me. So
Yeah.
you know, it's a
Yeah.
little different.
I
But
guess that's true. I guess that's true.
yeah.
I'll give you that one.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, oh shoot, I forgot I was going to ask you there. You mentioned, you know, that just that vulnerability. And now I'm drawing an entire blank on what I was going to ask you about
No, you're
vulnerability.
good.
But the
You're
other thing
good.
I was going to ask you, so working with Chris, do you guys strictly just, you know, play out together, or is there any sitting down and songwriting together? Are there, you know, releases with the two of you together, or a plan for that, or anything along those lines?
Yeah, we do. We do have a duo that we call DuPont Phillips when we play together. And we put out an EP, was it last spring? Everything's all the time is running together. And we are working on another duo EP that's gonna come out next year. But we both are pretty solitary songwriters, but we're just now starting to experiment with kind of like even just passing each other like a voice note and saying like this needs this bridge needs help or this something needs to change here, like can you try your hand at it? And we haven't gotten brave enough yet to sort of sit down in the same room and just like come up with something. I'm not sure if we'll ever get to that of of co-writing. But minimally it's great to have like someone to bounce your new songs off of. Because we both have a handful of like trusted singer-songwriter friends we can send that stuff to. But obviously we are the closest to what one another does. And so just being able to say, like, I wrote something new, I think I'm excited about it. Can you tell me if it's terrible? Or like, can you tell me if I need to tighten it up or whatever? And so yeah, it's a cool little Venn diagram of like we both definitely have our individual stuff, but it overlaps in a lot of cool ways, and we're sort of starting to dip our toe into co-writing in whatever ways we can handle.
Yeah, yeah. Well, again, going back to that concept of vulnerability, like how do you mesh that with someone else then, you know?
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, it's I think actually Sarah Bareilles is another like big influence of mine and obviously like another piano singer-songwriter girl, but she talked about co-writing with Jack Antonoff and they sort of worked on the track together and then he kind of said to her like, okay, now go write the lyrics. Like that you don't need help with that part. You go do it. And she talks about say feeling like, oh, I didn't even know that that kind of co-writing was an option. I thought we just had to sit here and like suffer through it together. And but this is the part that's closest to me, so I can just go do it by myself. And I think finding ways of getting creative with what that looks like. So you sort of invite people into certain parts of the process, but not every part of the process. Um, that's been really helpful. And but I also think some of it, to your point with vulnerability, is just like getting okay with feeling uncomfortable sometimes. That's the other, you can avoid it as much as possible, but at a certain point you have to just go like, I might fall on my face in front of you. I guess that's gonna have to be okay.
Yeah.
Um, and that's certainly a part of it too.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like dating or something where it's like, do you like me? Do you like
Yeah,
my stuff? You know?
exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Terrible. When Chris and I first started dating, and like again, we'd known each other for so long, but I literally would get like performance anxiety just trying to sing in front of him in like the living room. Like I got so nervous, and it took a while to calm down and be like, okay, if you spend a lot of time with this person, you're gonna have to get okay with this. Like
Yeah.
it took some time, took some practice.
Yeah, that's how that works.
Yeah.
All right, so you've got the Michigan dates coming up, which we'll have in the show notes. Is there any other touring planned for the year for you?
For the rest of the year, for the rest of 25, we're mostly going to focus on recording because, like I mentioned, we're working on the duo EP and then going into the studio for my record. But then in the spring of 26, we're going to be doing another little like Midwest run that we're going to be announcing soonish. And then yeah, things are already starting to fill in for next year, which is crazy.
I know, right? We're talking about 2026. It's
I
wild.
know, bananas.
Well, cool. All right, so we've got wow, so much coming. EP, an album, the tour. Anything else that you're excited for on the horizon this year, next year? 27 before we know it.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, we're already, yeah, it's so funny with music stuff. You're always living like 6 months in the future, you know?
Yeah.
And so we'll see. I'm sure there's a lot more coming, but those are the main anchor points right now. And I mean, I hate to say this, we're already looking at like next summer's festivals right now. So it all will be here before we know it, but I'm trying to live in the present as much as possible.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm not a musician, but I have worked with enough musicians to see the logistics behind that whole touring process. And
Yeah.
I don't know how you all do it between again, you're talking about next year already, and then
Yeah.
figuring out, okay, I've got to be here at this time and there at that time, and what
Yeah.
do I do in between, and how do I get there
Yeah.
and all of
Yeah.
that.
It's crazy. I just recently had a chat with another musician who's like a little further down the road than I am, and she was saying when she plans like if you're looking at next spring, you're obviously planning what are my sort of music goals, my business goals, but she was saying she also tries to plan like what do I want that time frame to feel like and what do I want my family life to look like and all of that stuff because otherwise, it can all sort of get lost in the shuffle of I booked all these gigs and I got to do all of it, and then the rest of your life can kind of fall to the wayside. And so I'm trying to take that to heart, and as opportunities come in, ask myself like, well, but what do I want that time to feel like as well, so that I don't get there and feel like I'm running myself ragged. So we'll see how it goes. I'll let you know.
Yeah. Well, and it is, it's important to keep that in mind because while this is a career, it is
Mhm.
also something you love. And also in any career, we're all struggling to keep that balance of, making sure we're enjoying life and taking the time to, I had a stressful work day today and I had a moment where I was like, it doesn't matter how hard I tackle this to-do list. I need to take a break and go walk outside in
Yeah.
nature and
Yeah.
get some nature on me. And
Uh,
I could either sit here and grind on this to-do list and try to get more done, or I can go do that and probably come back refreshed enough to actually be productive.
for
It's
sure.
you got to strike that balance. So
Yeah. Well, and if you don't find some way to replenish yourself, it's like the creativity just isn't going to be there. You're going to have nothing to draw from. And you're also probably going to be in my experience, I'll be pretty miserable to be around as well.
yeah, yeah, and I just had a local musician, Dina Woods, on, and she used this word that I've just been thinking about ever since she said it. But glimmer, the glimmer in our
Mhm.
creativity. We've got and in life in general, but it can't all be about producing. There has to be like you do this because you love it, right? And you don't want to get to the point where you don't love it any longer.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never want it to start to feel like a slog or to forget why you were excited about it in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to hold on to that glimmer. So, yeah.
Hmm.
Well, cool. Well, congratulations first of all on the win at the Acorn. That's a huge accomplishment.
Thank you.
And yeah, we're excited to see what comes out with both projects, the duo and the full record, the solo records. So
Thank you so much. I
yeah,
can't
keep us
wait. I can't wait
posted
to
on
show it
that.
to you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and hopefully we can catch you at one of those Michigan shows when you get down this way. So
Yeah, I would love that.
cool. All right. Well, Kylie, thanks for taking the time to chat with me and wishing you luck with everything. All right.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
All right. Awesome. Take care. All right.
You too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to Anywhere the Needle Drops from Red Chuck Productions. Keep up on new episodes of this show, our live events, and various creations and other happenings over at redchuckproductions.com or by following us on social media at Red Chuck Productions. Special thanks to Hero Jr. for our theme music. You can check them out over at herojuniormusic.com. That is Hero, Hero, Junior, JR, music.com. A big shout out to Paul Clemson and Theory One Productions for handling sound duties and so much more. Check out their magic over at theory1productions.com. And a big thank you to Earthworks Audio for outfitting the Red Chuck studio. See their microphones and their other products over at earthworksaudio.com. Be sure to support all of our guests by visiting their websites, social media, clicking that subscribe button, seeing them live, and checking out their merch stores. Give musicians and artists your money. We'll be back with the next episode. Until then, thank you for your time. Here's to life.